Hello and welcome to our YouTube channel. Today guys, we are diving into the exciting world of English literature, specifically something called literary criticism. Now guys, one question comes in your mind is that what exactly is literary criticism and why is it so important? So well guys, think of literary criticism as a way to explore and understand literature on a deeper level. It is like having a conversation with a book where you ask questions, share your thoughts, and try to figure out what makes a story or a poem so special. Guys, literary criticism is not just about saying whether you like or dislike a book. It is about analyzing and examining the different part of a story to understand what the author is trying to say and how they are saying it. Now, let's break it down into the some simple ideas. First is understanding the author's message. Guys, first literary criticism help us to understand what the author is trying to tell us. Authors use words, characters, and setting to communicate big ideas and themes. It is just like solving a puzzle game. Now guys, second thing is different perspective. Second, literary criticism allows us to look at book from different angles. Just like different people have different opinion, critics have different way of understanding a story. It's all about seeing the bigger picture. You can understand very well. Now the third point is history and culture. Guys, literary criticism help us to understand the time and place a book was written. If we talk about literature is influenced by the society and culture of its time, and critics help us to explore these connections. So question come, who are these literary critics? They are like detectives searching for clues in the works or words or pages of a book. They help us to see what is hidden between the lines and why it matters. And guess what guys? You don't have to be an expert to do literary criticism. Anyone who reads a book can be a critic by sharing their thoughts and ideas. It's just like joining a book club and discussing your favorite stories. So in a nutshell, literary criticism is about exploring the meaning, history, and different perspective of literature. It's like unlocking the secret of your favorite books and sharing your discoveries with others. That means if somebody has studied literature, and if he passes judgment on some piece of work on the basis of his own study, his own experience, or you can say his own learning and contemporary taste, that is a part of criticism. Guys, criticism if we talk about is three types. First is the legislative criticism, the romantic criticism, and the applicative criticism. Guys, legislative criticism is called classical criticism, where rules and regulations are formed, and the critics follow the same rules or regulations set by the ancient writers or the classical writers. Guys, romantic criticism is where the writer is liberal and don't stick to any rule related to the writing, and they simply accept the freedom of spirit, freedom of emotions, and the freedom of mind. They simply believe that writer should not be fixed in a particular rules and regulation. He should have freedom of thoughts, emotions, and everything, even in the writing skills also, guys. The third thing is applicative criticism. Guys, applicative criticism is like when you analyze the book or the piece of art written by someone else, and you simply decode the meaning. That is called applicated criticism. Here guys, the critic is a messenger who decode the meaning of God or to the devotee. For example, guys, tell me one thing, what priest does? Remember guys, he helps a devotee to understand the preachings of God. So now what critic does? Critic is the priest, and we can say writer is the God and the reader is a devotee. So that is called applicative criticism. Now guys, here we talk about the first writer, Plato. He is not called the godfather of criticism, Remember, in net exam, you have to answer Aristotle is the father of criticism. But being the first writer, Plato can also be called father of criticism. Remember one more thing, guys. Aristotle has been called father of criticism by Dryden, and it is asked in the net exam. So it is very important question, guys. So Plato, is the first man who studied this concept, poetry, education, all these sectors, and he is the first man who makes certain rules. So Plato is the first person to talk about poetry, certain rules and regulation. And also he talk about modern education. He is the one, who has developed certain rules. The first thing that we have to understand is, the first thing is what? Theory of imitation or theory of mimesis. Remember guys, this thing, the theory of mimesis, is also called theory of imitation. And here Plato tells us that everything on the earth is an imitation. There is no reality. They are far away from reality. We are, far away from reality. That means in the living world, when we observe certain things, we, observe things already is a fake imitation. It is just an imitate. So what you have to understand here is that an imitation is already derived from certain reality. And being an imitation, it is far away from reality. For example, when you reflect the sun rays using a mirror, the sun ray, you can say the sunrise is reflected. This means imitation. They don't have the hotness of the sun. It means that even if you can show the moon in the mirror does not have the actual moon. So the Plato's concept is that when the world was created by God, God must have had some idea in his mind. Let me ask a question from you guys. What made God create a world? Maybe he must have got some ideas, some inspiration to create something or to make something. So Plato says that the idea itself was the first original thing. And when he tried to execute the idea, the world, it became first imitation, which is far away from reality. For example, many of you are the writers. So when you get inspired to write something, the first inspiration, or which is, your brain, is the first reality. But when you pen down those things, or you try to write down those things, you use your literary skills, language skills, and the idea, the idea is developed a shape into words. It means that the idea is not the same thing. Earlier, it was just an idea, and now you have used the words also. So penning down those words on paper is simply the imitation. That means it is not real. So Plato is of the view, guys, that when things are not real, they should not be trustworthy. We should not trust them. So Plato says that poetry is imitation and it should not be trusted. Poetry is, fake. It should be, objected and rejected from the ideal society. Remember, guys, there is a famous quotation, Plato banned poets from ideal republic. Now, question comes that how poetry is twice removed from reality, and how does poet get inspiration? Like, suppose you have a poetic mind or a poetic heart, then how do you get the inspiration? Remember, guys, you look at a beautiful place or face or nature. Suppose you go to any hill station and you get inspired. So when you being the part of the world, looking at the image of nature, that the world has been created by God. So the nature of the beautiful thing is created by God. And to create those things, God already had some idea. That means it is the imitation of God's ideas, right? So when you look at the natural things or beautiful mountains or valleys, they are already imitated things, or you can say the fake things. But you look at them as your first reality and you make an idea in the mind. So your idea become first imitation. So looking at a valley or a beautiful mountain, you have got the idea or the inspiration. That is the first imitation. Then you start penning down that idea on a paper, that becomes second imitation. That simply means is that it is twice removed from reality. So now when a poet himself is inspired by fake things and then he is writing down something which is again an imitation of the fake thing, that simply means that the conveyed message is twice removed from reality and should not be trusted, guys. So note down these points, guys, and this is the concept of theory of mimesis. Tomorrow I will give you another lecture on literary criticism, guys. So guys, thank you for joining us on this literary journey. If you're curious about a specific topic or have questions about English literature, be sure to leave a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe for more literary adventures, guys. See you in the next video, guys. Thank you very much.